Hi everyone, today we'll be looking at the human reproductive system. So in the human reproductive system, we have got the male gametes, which are called sperms, and these sperms, they are produced in the male reproductive organs called testes. Okay, the female gametes, they are called ova. So these are produced in the female reproductive systems called the ovaries itself. So gametes, they are haploid and produced via meiosis. So haploid meaning to say is 23 chromosomes of each. So there will be 23 chromosomes in the sperm and 23 chromosomes in the ova. So subsequently, when the sperm and the ovum fuse during fertilization, that's when the diploid number, which is a total of 46, will be maintained from one generation to the next. So here we have got the side view of the male reproductive organ. So starting from the bottom, it's all written at the bottom over here. So the scrotum is the skin that actually holds the testes, and it is outside of the body system. So the reason why it has to be outside of the body system is because the sperm reproduction or the sperm production is ideally slightly below 37 degrees Celsius, which is the human body temperature. So the sperm production takes place inside the testes, which is supported by the skin, the scrotum. So immature sperm will then move towards the epididymis, which is actually a very long coiled thing. So this epididymis, when it is possible to be uncoiled and it's like a little coil, so it's sitting on top of the testes, whereby the sperm is made for maturation. And once the sperm is mature, it will then pass through the vas deferens, which is also known as the sperm duct. So this long tube will then transport the sperm from the testes, and subsequently at this point itself, it will pass through things like the seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and Cowper's gland. So all these glands contain sugars, contains fluids and minerals, etc., which will then enable the sperm to have motility when it exits the body system. So at this point in time, before it passes the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and Cowper's gland, it is still known as sperm. So once it passes here, it will then be known as the semen, which is essentially a mixture of the fluids plus the sperm itself. And this will then pass through the urethra. So what you can tell from here is that this urethra is also connected to the bladder. So essentially, males, they are able to pass semen out, or they are able to pass urine out, but never both at the same time. Okay, so we have got the components here. Seminal vesicle, so 70% of the fluid are from the semen itself. So testes also produce another thing, testosterone, which is responsible for secondary sexual characteristics such as voice deepening, growth of hair, etc. Okay, so when we move down to the female reproductive, so you can see that the structure looks simpler in a way, but later on the hormones will be taken a look at. So what we have here, just like how in males there's the testes, in females this one is the ovary. So you have two sets of ovaries on the left and right, inside which I have got a lot of ova, which is the plural tense for ovum. Okay, please don't use the word egg. So ovum, so every month either once each side of the ovary will release one single ovum into the fallopian tube. So take note that the fallopian tube or the oviduct, it has to be open. So if this junction is closed, then the sperm is unable to meet the ovum for fertilization, because fertilization have to take place around here at the ovum. Okay, fertilization does not take place here, here, or here. It has to take place around here. Reason being, we will take a look at it later. So this fallopian tube or the oviduct itself, it also have small little hair-like structure, cilia. So what this cilia does is that it will gently sweep the ovum. Okay, so if there is fertilization, it will gently sweep the fertilized ovum. Otherwise, if there is no fertilization, this ovum will be swept gently. So why does it need this gentle sweeping? So unlike the sperm cell, the ovum cell does not have motility on its own. It doesn't have a flagellum, which is the tail that enables it to move. So it has to be swept downwards. So subsequently, as it gets swept downwards, If there is fertilization, the uterus itself will be thickened and it will implant. If there is no fertilization, both the unfertilized ovum and the thickened urethra, the lining itself will then shed through the cervix and out through the vagina. Okay, so this cervix opens up or dilates during childbirth. If you watch those shows, you will see that it will dilate during childbirth, and after a certain time the mother can then start to push. So when we compare the sperm and the ovum, you can see that the ovum does not have any flagellum. Please don't call it a tail. So the sperm has a flagellum itself. So this flagellum gives it motility for it to move. And because it needs to move, energy comes from where? Energy comes from the mitochondria, which will then release, keyword is release energy during aerobic respiration. So in other words, the fluids from the semen itself will provide the energy, or rather provide the source for the mitochondria to release the energy. So subsequently, if there is fusion, this acrosome contains enzymes, and once it is able to hit onto the outer membrane, the enzymes in the acrosome will then digest away the outer membrane to enable the head of the sperm, which contains the nucleus and essentially genetic information. So only the head contains the genetic information, or the tail will be lost if there is a successful fusion. Okay, so you can see the sperm has to make a very long journey, so a huge quantity of sperm is needed. For the ovum, pretty much immobile, so the cilia and the muscular contractions of the oviduct, or aka the fallopian tube, will enable it to move. So do take note, the ovum survival is 2 to 3 days after release from ovaries.